Hello guys, I hope you are doing well. At this session I'm gonna introduce you one of the other purposes or functions of creating parts, which is separating the finishing walls from brick walls. For times that the two different layers of a wall hasn't been separated from each other, and if you weren't divide them from each other, you cannot extend the finishing walls till beneath of the ceiling. But during this process, something just came to my mind that I wanna tell you, which is related to the parts. Wait for a second, please. Let me specify the type of the wall, and then let me tell you this tip. Let me define the thickness, for example 5 centimeters, the layer of structure 5 centimeters. I specify finish, and finish, well done. Let me associate the material. I open material browser. Actually, during this process, I'm curious about your approaches while you're modeling your projects. For example, I sketch these walls, find level of detail, and then ceiling. By sketch ceiling, I want to use pick line to place the ceiling. I check extend into wall to core, then I pick the lines by this way. Very well. After that, I click on finish, and I want to remove one of the sides in order to observe the model geometry better. Let me check the graphic styles. Well done. Very well. Here the problem is to extending the finishing walls till beneath the ceilings. Previously, some of my students recommended using creating parts, which is correct. That here if I create these two parts, I can select this layer or this part as you can see, and then turn on the shape handle. After that, I can move it by this way, and this would be considered in the schedule table as well. But here we may have another problems like creating small gaps. Let me show you. For example, at this corner, for instance, let me select the another wall and then create parts. As you can see, the problem is solved, but we may not want to create parts from all of the walls. But all in all, I want to say that it is a solution. But at this moment, forget about this, that creating parts may bring some problem for us. But my question here is, assume that during the process of project, I have sketched such a thing that the layers or the subcomponents are not divided from each other. As you can see, we do not have different parts, and at this condition we are not allowed to use create parts, since as I told you before, it brings us some problems or some obstacles that we are not able to overcome. So at this condition, what is our alternative way to bring the wall finishing or finishing walls under the ceiling, except using parts? I hope you to give me the expected answer, since I'm gonna introduce my next challenge. Very well, here it is. Let me sketch a section view here and then I open it by this way. Very well. Find level of detail. So here if I want to bring the finishing wall beneath the ceiling, if I use create parts, and then here I can check show shape handles, and then I bring it down. Check this out. So at this way or at this approach, we did this by using create parts, while I was not allowed to use create parts. But here if I want to not use parts, I can modify the layers of the wall. I mean, you may recommend this approach. But how do we can modify the layers of the walls? Right now, we got a wall which is divided into some parts, while if I delete one of the parts will be deleted, as you can see, and the wall itself is remained. Anyway, concerning about modifying the layers, I open edit type, and then in edit assembly, let me open it. However, I will talk about the other options here. Watch this part please. Am I right? Can I modify the layer? Firstly, I select it and then I unlock it by this way. So I select it, and when the icon of the lock was highlighted, wait for a second please, I click to unlock it by this way. After that, I will given, as you can see, a shape handle without parts. Then I move it downwards and then place it beneath the ceiling. Am I right? Well done. Now my question is, we should do the same process for the another side. So let me unlock it at first. I click on OK. Check this out. Here we got an error. Extension layers at the top of the wall must be adjacent, which shows that we are not allowed to unlock the two parts. I mean, at first we should lock the another one and then unlock this one. One of them is required to be locked. So as a result, this approach is not practical, because we got some limitations which makes the process impossible. I cancel the process. So the shape handle was not given. In the continuation, let me tell my approach at this condition, which is attaching the wall to the ceiling. Check this out. I select the wall, then I attach it to the ceiling. Look, as you can see, I have attached the wall to the ceiling. Following that, the finishing wall is brought to downwards, but this is not finished. Wait for a second. Here, suppose that this did not exist, so I delete it. Right now, if I attach the wall to the ceiling, as you can see, the wall is trimmed to beneath the ceiling. So to review the process, I should say that we can attach the walls to wall finishing, we can detach them to each other, and then the problem would be solved, as I showed you, again by detaching the wall to the ceiling. But still there is an alternative way, and it's been years that I haven't tried it. But I'm gonna do it and show you in this session. But I prefer not to do it. And usually I'm not encountered with such problems during the process of modeling. Anyway, I wanna sketch a ceiling here. Then I sketch a slope arrow. Then I specify the value of height offset at tail 0. Which has no effect on the ceiling. Very well. Then I click on finish. So we got a ceiling and a slope arrow, and have a specified 0 for height offset from tail. Very well. Wait for a second. Watch this part please. As you can see, the wall finish is brought down. I knew this approach but did not want to use it. Check it out. We did it by creating a slope arrow and specifying the value of 0. Even if we did not attach the wall to an element, it trims the finished part, as you can see. Let us have a review about the used approach and then continue the session. We learned that if a wall had been attached to a ceiling, for example to a floor or to a ceiling, and then if you attach it to a ceiling or other elements, the finished part of the wall will move downwards, as I showed you in the examples that we moved the finished parts of the wall beneath the ceiling. And if the top part of the wall was not already attached to an element, the entire parts of the wall will move downwards, as you can see. And if you use a slope arrow and specifying 0 for height offset from tail, height offset at tail actually, I place it, then I specify 0 since it sloped the ceiling. And even if you delete the slope arrow, it has no effect on the wall since the process is done. Let me try again. As you can see, this is a process of attaching. I know it is strange, and if I attach it to the another one which has not any slope arrow, the entire wall moves downwards.